and good morning, and welcome to Touch Base Daily. My name is Ron Foster, touching base with you as I do every day during the week and sometimes during the weekend. What's going on? How are you all doing? It is a new week. We are a week and a couple of days away from Thanksgiving. Holy moly! Thanksgiving is around the corner. And so I'm so excited. I had a great weekend. I have to tell you, Friday after I left you guys, I had a great time spending it with our Manhattan Chamber of Commerce. We had a great, what we call networking around town. And our Manhattan Chamber, I was partnered with Tavern Community. And I am so glad I was able to bring those two entities together, using my ambassadorship. And everyone had a great time. We had a wonderful event at the Empire State Building, at their state, what's called the State Grilled Bar, and wonderful time at the Empire State Building. So that's what happens when you do what you are called to do. And I say that because, remember, it was our community that we celebrated on a Focus Friday. Tavern Community, gave them a shout out, and I shared with I kind of like stumbled upon them. And then next thing you know, the founder of Tavern reached out to me, said hello, and said thank you. Now, we've shouted out a lot of people over the year and a half, almost 2 years now, on Focus Fridays. But very few say thank you. Very few said, thank you for sharing my works. Thank you for sharing what I do. But sometimes you get that. Like we got Jelani, who's one of our photographers that hangs out in the community here and there, and has spoken twice on the show. And Tavern Community reached out, and we forged a friendship, and now I photograph for them. I wasn't photographing on Friday. Some of y'all had a lot to say about the photographer that was photographing. But it goes to show you it's okay to just celebrate people. Celebrate people without looking for anything in return. And that's how that's what we, and you know, what I loved about Tavern Community is because what? Community. And I really do believe that is the future. I believe the future is about community. I believe that, I'm just talking to all the pastors out there like Adrian. Listen, Adrian's in the building. People are looking for community. If Christians, I don't know why I went down there. I guess I saw Adrian in the building. If pastors around the country could get back to fellowship and building community, there could be some revivals that may happen. So, just saying, I think people are craving to be with others, craving, and not so much I want to be with people that are like me. They just want to be in communities that they can be themselves. They can be themselves, whatever that may be. If people could get to that place where people can come into your space and be who they want to be and be as they are, and you can watch people evolve and grow in those spaces, you will be doing a service for humanity. And so people are craving for community. And I talked about this with the founder of Tavern on Friday night. People are looking for, we had an amazing turnout on a Friday night. Now, most people want to go hang out with their boys and go to the club and hang out and do things. You had all of these people came out for a networking event based on building community. It's amazing. It's a good concept, right? And so you always hear me say all the time, if you don't have a community, make one. G says, good morning, G. She says, yes, communities are the future. Okay, let's say hello to some folks and then we'll go back into that, right? Aya says she's the first person in the building. She says, she says, Grand Rising, at Ron, everyone, at Touch Base Daily, at RLP. Number 2 in the building, the silver goes to Jazzy Jazz. Good morning, everyone, she says. And 3rd place, the bronze. The bronze goes to Chris R. She says, good morning. And then you have Mr. Adrian Florence. Happy Monday, fam. And yes, you have Miss G.R. Houston. Chat. Okay. I did not change the QR code yet, but I will. And I'm going to send out some invitations, as a matter of fact, because this is a good conversation to have. And I'm going to send it out for anybody that thinks they may be ready to come on and do, as they say in this world of YouTubing, cam up. Cam up. So I'm going to put that out there. And let's see there. I have here. And such a great panel. Jazzy Jazz. I'm going to get that up there for you guys. Also, I'm going to get the barcodes ready. But I definitely want to send these 3 their invitation right away. Okay, now I can get back. On track. Okay, so here we go. So also we have Amparo in the building. Grand Rising. Elise, Elise says, good morning, Ron and everyone. And we have Chrissy's Corner in the building. And we have the great Derek T. Tuggle. Yes, right. This is the platform where everyone gets a shout out. my friend, someone says, you know what? You go over to that. If you go over to Ron's podcast, you will get a shout out. So you are going to get a shout out. And Elise says also, speaking of community, she says, I also believe that the future is about community. It is. It's about community. David Mascaro is in the building. Good morning, all, he says. And good morning from good morning, fam. Much love. There you go. So my eye doctor was right. I need to upgrade my prescription so I can see things better. What about that? How about that? Lisa's in the building. She says, good morning, everyone. And also remember, Lisa is selling her book, so make sure you go to her website. Make sure you go to her Instagram page, Lisa Seeley 1. Check out her book, so that way you can get that. And I'm sure you will be inspired. And I see Hannah's in the building. Good morning, Hannah. Hannah is in the building. Good morning. We're all here. We are all here in the building. So back on this community thing. So again, like I was saying, and it was really cool for them to give a shout out. They were like, Ron, thank you so much. In this whole little room where there's TV, it was recordings going and everyone's sharing and talking. And they were saying, thank you so much for the introduction. It's important that we, again, not just be thinking about ourselves in community, but we can also think about how we can help others. We can think about others. It's about sharing others' stuff. Like Lisa, she says, thank you, Ron. Pre-sales ends Thursday. So guys, get the pre-sale. I'm going to do this today. I need to put an order in today. Computer, set alarm for 1 o'clock.
I'm set for 1 p.m.
Yeah, that way it'll remind me to make a call to Lisa. Okay, there you go. There you go. And we have them. We have some folks in the back room. Some folks in the back room that are going to come on. Like our ladies first, Lady Elise. What's going on, Elise?
Good morning.
It is a good morning indeed. It's
Yes, things going okay. Things going well.
and Mr. Florence is in the building. Adrian Florence.
So,
Yeah.
fam,
What does it say? God vibes only. I like that. I like that.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, what do you guys think about that? I mean, the thought of community. Community, I think, is people are craving for it.
Like I just had that conversation this weekend with someone that says now it's time for us to come together as community and reconnect. You know, I
Reconnect.
have there are different communities out there that I'm associated with, and I hung out with the artists this weekend. But people are craving community and
Yeah.
connection, and that's what's gonna keep us. That's gonna keep us sane and keep us moving forward.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, listen, you know that my wife and I, we lead the marriage ministry at our church, and we actually just launched. So the it's called To Be One, right? Because to become one, that's the name of our ministry, and we just launched To Be One times two, which is effectively everybody. They were able to scan a barcode and fill out a survey. So the first half of the survey is based on demos, understanding your demo, like age brackets, kids or not, how long you've been married, and then the second part of it is kind of like interests and things that you're interested in. And what we're doing is we're taking all of those pools of individuals and using AI to match them up. And what we're saying is for the first 3 months of the year, once a month, connect, just get together. And whether it's you invite somebody, if you're comfortable, and bring them into your home, or let's meet at a restaurant, split the bill and don't argue over who ordered water. Or if like if you find that you have the same interest, go bowling, go play golf, go hiking, go do something. But you're building community. It's not just, hey, I saw you at the end of service on Sunday and waved, but it's like people that you get to know. And what it does is it not only does it build community, but it builds accountability. It brings partnership. It brings relationship.
Yes.
And when it helps you to understand that none of us have to go through this alone, right? This thing called life. It is bigger than like a spiritual or a church thing. It's just life. Like it's a human thing where we should be able to have relationships. And now the biblical part of it says that we are not called to be alone. God never intended any of us to be alone. So we're just trying to help to generate some community. So we're going to do that once a quarter, so that by the end of the year of 2025, they would have connected with at least a few couples that they can now say is their new inner circle. So I agree 100% with the whole. We need to have community. We need to have relationships.
And I know it works.
Great.
You know why? Because when I was a youth director,
a pretty good
my
one.
goal was community. My goal was community. I did everything I could to foster community. We did, family days, picnics, beach parties, going on trips. We'd take them hiking. My youth leader staff used to say to me, Ron, what did we do to deserve this? You have us out on a hiking trail with these kids. We never been hiking before, but
We
it
mocked you
builds
incessantly.
community.
I'm not gonna lie. We mocked you. We made fun of you. We complained, but it is some of the most memorable times of my life. And I talk about it all the time. And then eventually, all the corny stuff. We go apple picking. I'm like,
I took them apple
I'm
picking,
this. I'm not that.
hiking, rock
What are we doing right
climbing.
now?
They were like, Ron. They're like, Mr. Ron, we don't do that kind of stuff. Don't you know who we are? We're Black people. No, but we was a mixed church, obviously. We had Spanish kids, white kids. We have kids from all backgrounds, but we did a lot of stuff. And my objective was to build community in an urban environment, because kids in the suburbs had it naturally, but kids in the city did not have it naturally because they come from afar. They have to get on trains and buses to come together. So how do you build community? And that was my number one objective as a youth director, community. And now I look at Adrian and all of his friends, they're friends to this day because of community. And they support one another. I look at all of the young individuals that call me and say, Ron, thank you for being our youth director. Thank you for putting us together. Now we're still friends. Think about it. These guys were 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. Now they're all in their 40s and they're all still hanging out.
You said don't tell his age.
Community is we as human beings thrive to be with others. We love to be with others. We love to connect with others. And it is so important. Community has been my thing ever since. I craved for it when I was a kid. And I said, you know what? I've been this way all my life. Adrian will be, yeah, you can tell you. If I can't get it or go to it, I will make it. I'll create my own environment. And here we are. Touch Base Daily. What's going on, Gwendolyn? Miss G is in the building.
Good morning. How is everybody?
Doing good. How are you with that great smile?
We're storming right now.
Is it storming?
Storming right now, but preparing to record later today. But it's interesting because I've been talking about community for a while and have recorded some stuff. And in my situation, community saved me. Back in 2009, 2010, we were staving off depression. And, for me, if I'm not secure in where I am, I go home. So I was in Houston, and there was a young man who created the Marcus Garvey Liberation Garden, this community garden that was located in 3rd Ward in Houston. And it was filled with fresh vegetables. Now, I lived in Arlington at the time, so it was a 4-hour drive. 200 plus miles. But I would drive down there to work in that garden. And there is something refreshing with having to care for someone else or something else that's not you, right? But just being in that presence and being with those people saved me at a time where I was like in my darkest days. So community has so many. It can reach so many people and do so much for us. So if you think about it, there is a safe space for you to go when you feel like you don't belong, you don't know like where you're going, right? Like you're lost. But then also to provide fresh vegetables. Now we were picky about where the seeds came from, but to provide fresh vegetables. Well, if you get the wrong seed, you still got problems. Right. But you have fresh food for the community in a place that was a semi-food desert. So it's providing nourishment, not only for the soul, but for your belly. Man, some of the best days of my life was spent there. So I know that for where we are headed, we gonna need community, like real talk.
Real talk.
Real talk.
You're gonna need community. And I said, you have this one right here, but there's lots of communities that are around you. To get out there and connect with them. I mean, and I do believe this, and I grew up in church and all that stuff, and I know that there's a great falling away, and there's even going to be a greater falling away because of all that's happening in the world, and especially in America, but with the Christianity and how it's moving in the direction because of white nationalists and the Christian nationalists and all these other things that are happening and all these dynamics that are happening in the church world. But if the church could just do away with all the crazy other externals and just get back to the very basics of like fellowship. Because fellowship is community. And just get back to the basics, because community is everything. You build relationships. It's nothing like hanging out with friends. My buddy, we hung out on Thursday after I left you guys. Got on the bike. I ran to the city. My buddy, he's Jewish dude. He's one of my best friends in the world. And we sat down and had what we call we needed a junk food moment. because we were just thinking about the world. And we were like, we give ourselves licenses to go to Popeyes. That's where we hang out. So we hung out at Popeyes. And he just looking at me like, does he know I don't eat Popeyes?
You eat Popeyes?
Well, only when I'm trying to regroup.
Wow. Okay.
So now Jeff and I, anytime we need to regroup, like we want to like get our brains together and think about strategy and where we are financially or where we are in business. And I met Jeff in the Manhattan Chamber, and we became best of friends from the moment we met. And we just connect that way. So his wife and I helped design their home. So many things we so I'm there for them, and they're there for me. And we just sat there because we were like, he's like, how do you feel about this election? I was like, well, you know how we feel. You know how I feel. And he was out canvassing in Pennsylvania. He went from door to door to, he and his wife Hannah, they went to door to door to door to door to door to door. He said, I didn't see this coming, Ron. I didn't see this coming. He said, I don't know what happened, but I didn't see this coming. I usually see stuff coming. I didn't see. So we was just talking about a lot of stuff. But the thing we were really excited about is we have community. We have each other. We have our friends. And there's nothing like when you build relationships over time, that when you have these stressful moments in the world or stressful moments in your life or stressful moments in relationships, you have these relationships that have forged over time through community, where you build trust and you can just let your hair down and just say, I can't stand this, or I hate this, or I want to do this, or I want to do this, or I love this and I love that. So, but you could just be you and just share your deepest thoughts, and just because you built a friendship over time and you forged it with and wrapped it with, so like the cables, you got all these cables running, and then you wrap with other cable and make it stronger and stronger. That's friendship. That's community.
Not you talking about the 3-strand cord and how it's not going to be broken. I hear you.
I know. Like, wait a minute.
I used to be a youth director.
Put it all in there.
I used to have to speak in front of people back in the day. But right? But does that make sense? It's like we need each other. I mean, I think about the relationships just in this community. Look at Elise and I met last year, right? Was it last year through
I think so.
Through CQ,
Right,
through my cousin's platform,
yeah,
right.
So
we met. There's a couple of people that we met over in that space. CQ, I was there hanging out. My cousin put me on, and next thing you know, I started talking to people, and they said, "Oh, I gotta go check out what Ron is doing over there." And they came and they stayed. Or, I mean, think about now. Adrian calls Lady G, my work wife, Auntie Gwendolyn. I mean, that's how relationships are built. I mean, when Elise comes to town, everything stops. Everything stops. I was like, okay, where we going, Elise? We're going for a walk.
We're going to go for a walk.
But again, you build community and it keeps growing, and then it builds outward. Man, there's nothing better than community.
Well, can I add something?
Yeah.
May I add something?
You can. Yes, you may.
So I remember a few Touch Base Daily Lives ago, I had mentioned how it appears that we're coming upon another awakening.
Yes.
Which I do believe. It is similar to the pandemic, but this is different. Like, if anything, you could say it's like another civil rights movement. I was telling Fifi, I am in my Malcolm X and James Baldwin season. I don't want to play with me. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how we are feeling right now. But if you check it, if you do look at it, like your friend who was out canvassing, we didn't see it coming. We did and we didn't. You know, for a number of years, that level of hate has been squashed. It's been suppressed. And then you get somebody who tells you, hey, you can go out there and start saying stuff. And of course, we all know if you're on an individual basis, you might find yourself in some bad situations. But we're at a place where there may be some people who are going to leave. And there's always some folks who are going to, and I don't want to say cut and run, but I'm going to say cut and run. And then there are others who are like, I'm going to fight. We are destined to fight. So I think about that young lady in the video that you shared Friday when she talked about like the food in the US. My whole thought was, I got like my neighbors, and we are slightly on the older side. We have gardens. Now I don't have a garden because I'm not that green. I keep cactus. I'm not like Miss Elise yet. I aspire. But we got gardens over here. We have people who are creating community gardens because if you don't like what you see happening, then you have to do something. Like, I mean, you don't have to, but you could. You could decide to, I don't like the food that's being out there. I am going to now do this for people in my community, for my family, and whoever else, right?
Right.
Like, I don't need another book, but we've been buying up some books that have been banned because I'd be damned if
That's
we can't
right.
have
Get
access
those
to those
books.
books.
Yes,
So
right.
there's a library going on. You know what I'm saying? So we have choices. I believe there may be a small section of us, but on a collective, it'll be large. But there's going to be a lot of people who are doing what we're doing.
That's
You're
right.
going to pull your resources together because we got to get through this. We
That's
have
right.
to get through it. I mean, I don't want to say there's no plan B, but this is it. And I'd be damned if no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Not on my watch. Not to the good Lord take all of me off of this earth.
I think that's a part of what is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
It's us continue to grow in community because the community growing started with the pandemic. I always say the pandemic was really about us needing to stop and reconnect with humans.
Yes.
And be more and not be so me all the time. Understanding that we're all going through something that at the same time and that we all have things in common. And also for us, it's just how disconnected we are and looking at, we have to sit back and see how outside forces intentionally keep us divided. And we have to realize that now is the time that we start reconnecting. Even when you look at the numbers from the election, there was 80% men, Black men voted for Kamala and 92% Black women. So we have a large community that we just need to get together and connect with. And we do it online and we do it outside of that, because one of the things I know all these artists in the area. So my thought was this weekend is I've invited friends over to see their art. Why not invite the artists over? And the other people in the art community not to let's have something at a restaurant, bring them into my home. Because one of the artists said, I would love to see your collection, and his work is in my collection. But it's that part. And he sent me a DM yesterday. And in his DM, he said, and Lisa has a piece of his Esteban Whiteside. In his DM, he said, it's not often that he runs into people in family in DC like he did in his hometown. He's originally from Carolina, but he lives here. He said, but every time I see you, it's like meeting family. And I love our conversation. And I took that, just meant a lot to me, because you never know what your impact is on people. Like, we don't see each other all the time, but I'm always encouraging him because his art is truly activist art. And it's always, some galleries are afraid of it. But I have several pieces in my collection because it's activist, because it gives voice to the concerns of people in the world. But just knowing that there's this community of people that we're connected and we see each other at all these events, why not start having conversations and having events, and finding out how we help each other, how we and identify, as Adrian was saying with the couples, identify what our common grounds are and how we continue to grow and support each other. And that's a part of where we and oftentimes we've gotten away from that.
Yes, it did. Yes, we have.
And as we create communities, understand that there's some people who were once in your community who may not move forward in your community.
That's right.
Not just because they're running away, just because they don't fit the community. They're not going to work in the best interest of the community, they have to be able to see that we're all together, and they can't be singly focused. So they may not they may not move forward in a community, and that happens in every community.
Every community. The group, when I was in psychology, when I took psychology in only 1 year of psychology, we did this class called group dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started the class, and how the teacher had us all come into the class, sit where we wanted to sit, and then we had to discuss why we picked our seats and what was our motivation of finding the seat we sat in. And then over the year of this class, the seats, at the end of the class, we have a discussion on how we were sitting now.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the catalyst over time that created us in these new communities within the community of the class, and how people were drawn to each other. At first you don't know anyone, and then over time these what we call it, some ties began to form, where people and alliances began to form, and people were sitting next to each other now as a group, like these 3 people over here, those 3 people over there, 4 people over there. And we began to discuss as the group dynamics was changing over time. And it was fascinating class. I will never forget that. I mean, that was my only psychology class, but it was one of the most fascinating classes I ever taken in college, because that's life.
Right.
People, and the old saying is, there's an analogy of the train ride. People everyone rushes on the train, but not everyone's going to the same destination.
Right.
Some people are getting off the next stop. Some people are going to ride the train all the way to the end. Some people are going to get off the train midway. But we are all going in the same direction. So, we're going in the same direction.
That was kind of the focus. I know if you've heard of Dr. Beverly Tatum's book, Why Do All the Black Kids Sit Together?
Mm.
And it really isn't about the Black kids just sitting together. It's about group dynamics, and how so do white people sit together. Everybody sits together. So that's just to draw your attention. When you read the content of her book, it's not just about that. It's about how people are attracted to different people for a variety of reasons. So I thought that was very interesting, because if you ever watch group dynamics, and as an educator, I would watch teachers and everybody else, and they gravitate toward who they're comfortable with.
Yes.
Initially. They may eventually find out they don't always see eye to eye, and they may move away from some people, but end up with the people who they consider who are quote unquote like-minded.
Adrian?
I think that part of it too is like, so in my company, there aren't that many Black people. So I created, and we have teams of Microsoft Teams or any kind of like group. And I created a group chat, and it's called the Code Switch Crew. And we all know what that means, right? Because we all
the code switchers.
we got a code switch, but it's only a group of the Black people within the organization. And what the initial purpose was so that at work we could still be in an environment where we're seeing people that look like us, and we can be comfortable being our full selves. We don't have to code switch out. We can use the whatever language that we're comfortable using, and like the slangs and stuff like that. But the way my process though is, if I know something, I happen to go into an office, I see somebody that's Black, and I'm like, oh, I don't know you, I would just put 15 minutes on their calendar, and because of my title, like, they just got to show up anyway. They're like, I don't know who he is, but I guess I got to show up to this meeting, and it's really a casual conversation, because I want to make sure that we're also keeping a safe environment, right? Because we also know that unfortunately not all skin folk are kinfolk, right? So we want to maintain the integrity of the safety of that community, and still be able to feel like we can walk in the freedoms and that we have in there. But we have a tight community, and now even within that small group, we're celebrating engagements. We're getting invited to events to hang out with each other outside of this office space. But we have a safety here, a safety net. We have a community, and we have relationships, and it's continuing to grow. And so things like that, I think, are important as well.
Yeah. And that's why my son is, he works for the company he works for. He has a big each group he's worked for, he still has friends from those different places. And they get together for dinner and everything. And I told Ron, I said, every time I come up there, there's a group of them who wants to go out to dinner with Mama.
That's
Maybe
right.
they're
We're
gonna
gonna
want to
hang
go
out
to
with
lunch with
Mama.
me. They're gonna want to go to dinner with me every time I come. And so it's hilarious. And so because they say they just want to sit and talk and have be in conversation with me. But I love the fact that he has such a group of people, and it is a very diverse group. But they sit and have conversations, and they meet often, and I love that for him, because he doesn't have blood family there, but he has family through his community there.
Wow. Well, look who's in the building. Let's Jazzy Jazz. What's going on? You want to add to this conversation?
I did, because I was thinking about something this weekend. I was talking to someone, one of my friends, and I was telling her one of the things that I think is important to remember about community is the power that you have within it. I think so many times, and what this election to me showed me in a greater scheme, like I've been a part of something like this before, but when we did the Win with Black Women and we raised $1 million in 2 hours. Win with Black Men, $3 million in 2 hours. I think sometimes we devalue our importance because we don't think we can make a difference. Those were all small dollar donations. Most of those donations were like $20 that was like the most a lot of those people did within that time frame. And I've sat and watched 300 women raise $125,000 in 10 minutes, like just in a closed door meeting, all Black women. Right. And when I say that to say, like, sometimes we don't always value the little things that we do. And we always think it has to be on this granular scale, but it doesn't. Yeah. And I think, like, just what you were speaking to, the impact of your youth group, the impact of your community groups within your church, the impact of the collective of CQ even, or Purple Heart, or anything that you're a part of. It's like, I think so many times I've met in these last 4 years people that I would have never met if it wasn't for social media, if it wasn't for music, that I've built real community with. And I think sometimes we just have to take that and hold on to that and understand the power in that. Yeah, because it's
it's also, if I may interject, and this is a thought too. I mean, I've been thinking about, as we are all building these communities, and we have the internet, we have social media to do it. I also want people to all remember that Elise and I are good friends because we are offline friends. Jazzy and I now talk because we're offline friends.
Right.
Lisa and I talk because we're offline friends.
Right.
Rashawn and I talk because we're offline friends. And Derek and I talk because we're offline. So what I'm going at is this: the world we live in today may not be around in the future. So we need to take advantage of this time of interacting, getting each other's numbers, getting each other's telephone number, address, or whatever, Gmail accounts, and be able to communicate that way as well. Because we need to now think, I was thinking about this yesterday. We need to think in 3-dimensional chess, in a mindset where we can't think about just what's so obvious to us, like playing checkers.
Right.
Checkers is just here, 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 bam, 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 bam. Chess, 2-dimensional. And you gotta say, okay, if you go here, he may go there, but he may use that one to go 3 spaces there, or go 2 spaces above, or 1 space over, or 1 space forward. There's a lot more maneuvering. We need to also get to the level where we are into 3 chess mode, where it's one level, one level, one level, and then all the pieces going around. The reason why is because we no longer live in a world where we could just take the obvious for being obvious. And we also talk about this in business. It is more important than just going online and having your online audience as a business person. We need to gather our email list so that way we can communicate offline. And I think we really, as business owners and people that are in building community, we really need to make that movement to just kind of like embrace a lot of different levels of connecting, and also let the aim be to see each other in person. I mean, where we can.
Absolutely.
Now, some of us live in California. We may not ever get to hang out with someone that's in California.
Yeah,
but
I'm gonna fly to California.
Yeah, you know, Elise will get on a plane to meet everybody. She's in California. She's in this place. She's in Louisiana.
Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah, you in Iowa. Who goes to Iowa?
That's what the community was. The community is there.
I mean, Elise goes to Iowa for community. I mean, really. But that's when we have to start thinking out the box.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have known like you all on right now on the screen with me. I would never have known you all if it were not, number one, for the pandemic.
Yes.
Then the communities that I became connected with, specifically starting with D Nice and CQ.
Yes, right.
And then going to Purple Heart, which is what Josiah is. And so where he created. So we made those connections, all came through that. And what I always describe D Nice as is, if you were to look at an atom, he's the nucleus.
Yes.
And every or a bicycle wheel. He's the middle, the spoke in the middle, and everything branched off from him. So there are all of these communities that people have created, including this one, because of that one person following and being what I always tell him, for being a willing vessel for God and sharing his talents during a time, not just that we needed that, he also needed community because he was alone. So that's how the community started, and that's how we all blossom out to be who we are. And and all the artists that I've met, so it's different things and how we did it and being connected. Like you said, you're absolutely right. So the artists have sent me their phone numbers, all that stuff, so we're connected in different ways. And we have to keep growing that, because it's so important that we understand that our survival and our heritage really is from our ancestors' community.
Yes.
And you all know I just came from Ghana last week, and that's about community. Everybody made us feel like we were a part of that family, part of that community. But it's all based on community. We came from people who ate communally in meals. Everything was about community, and we have to reconnect with that. I've always been a community person, but we got to reconnect with that and celebrate that and move forward and realize that for us to continue to thrive, because we're going to survive, but for us to continue to thrive, our communities have to be strong, and we have to support that community. Like I'll be in New York, but you won't be there. Because at the Apollo on the 7th. And I'm encouraging everybody in the community, if you're there, come out and support that young man. He's an independent artist, but I can do that because I can post that and know that there are people in my community who will show up.
Yes. Because
they're a part of that community that started when we were all at our lowest points. And I know I was going through a depression, and even though I was in the house with my family and love my family, and my husband and I get along great, but I still needed to be connected to the outside world. And I needed to have things that music gave me comfort. Music helped me survive. Music and the message in the music was what helped me get pushed through it. And I tell those people who are responsible for who allowed themselves to be used to give that to us, that I appreciate it and I respect it, and they saved so many of our lives during that time. And I think it's also important to thank the people that have brought us together in communities, and thank each other when we do it with each other. Thank Dr. Tachi for what she's doing, because she's done an amazing job and she's created a tremendous community. There's so many communities that we just have to support each other.
Yes.
I think there's
Can I add something there? Oh, go ahead, Adrian.
No, you go, Archie.
Well,
Go on, T.
go ahead. Well, it's interesting. It's interesting listening to all of you guys. And I think about when I would go into a space, when I go into any space, I typically sit in the back. I've been a back of the classroom kid, not because I don't like people. I'm an observer, but I'm a class A loner. But yet and still people come and sit around me and like make themselves known. But a couple of things that Adrian said about having these safe spaces in workplaces and explains why so many people like to say that's my family. The human experience wants to be around other humans and we want to belong. The same way that Jazzy spoke, that people often downplay their power and they don't recognize it. But the interesting thing, because I'm doing this thing on Friends as of like literally today, social media gives us this false assumption of being connected to people, that we are all here authentically and we are all here with genuine intentions, which is not the case, right? Like when you bring somebody in and you're like, this is kind of funny. I haven't had it myself, but I've seen people be in spaces with people who look like themselves, and yet and still you can find someone who is actively working to tear down whatever you're trying to build. They always show their hand, though. They always show their hand.
Always.
I've definitely been through it since the pandemic.
I know, right?
Jazzy knows all too well.
We have not had that. But I think about, I'm going to leave with this before I turn it over. When we talk about community, I keep going back to the table. Like people knew that they had arrived when they were invited to the kitchen table. And you can sit at the table and be with all the family conversations. Like you go from just being the acquaintance to being the person who's the neighbor to becoming the friend to now you have the family status. That stays with me. That literally stays with me. And people still, they gravitate towards that because the human experience wants that communal feeling. I shouldn't say feeling. They want that experience.
Yeah.
Like we want that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Adrian?
I was just going to say that I think that we also have a responsibility as a member of the community, and to even using the table, like if we're at that table and there's somebody that's missing, we'll notice. Hey, I don't see Ron at the table. What's going on with Ron? And so there will be folks that will be like, well, we need to go check on Ron and make sure that he's okay. That everything's going all right with him, because you're at the table. While everybody appreciates the presence, when you're absent, there's something that's missing, and you have the community to follow up with you and to make sure that even if you feel like, oh, maybe somebody offended you at the table, so you feel like you need to distance yourself. I'm not going to get spiritual, but that's the work of the enemy trying to distance yourself. Because if you're distancing yourself from the community, you've also distanced yourself from the safety of that community. So what we need to do, go back and bring them to the table again, so they're back within the safety of who we are. And sometimes it requires reconciliation, but we have to make sure that we also own our responsibility as being part of whatever that community is.
Yeah, that's so true. I think a lot of times to recognizing that in other people and understanding where everybody is, because I think so many times we build up these communities and then we let them falter because of the fact that we're just like, okay, now we're here and we're just expecting everybody to show up when they need to, without realizing we all have our own things that we're going through, right? Yes. And it's like what Adrian was saying, it's like, okay, now recognizing, okay, that person might have scooted away, but why is that person away? Right. And it's always funny when I think about Elise, especially Elise grew where I grew up. I could walk to Elise's house, literally walk to her house. I remember there was a storm in 1996. My mom walked us to the KFC right near Elise's house. And every time when I went over to your house the first time, I was kind of laughing to myself because it goes to show, like, there are times where people come into your life, where God places people in your life. I'm spiritual, sorry. I love Jesus.
No apology here.
But for me, it's interesting because I think about that all the time, literally how close me and Elise actually were in proximity of where I was and where she lives. I don't live close to that area now, but even like back in 2014, I was in Silver Spring. You know what I mean? Like it was just I could literally walk to her house. I would be across the street from her house. I would be in the shopping center across the street from her house. I would be in the store right behind her house and never have crossed paths with her. And I always think like God puts people in your life for a reason. Sometimes, like you all said, for a season. But I don't ever diminish the relationships that I have with anybody in this space, because I think it's so important the way that we connected with each other. Like for me, even with this, Ron, like your space has been a saving grace for me in ways you do not understand. Like even in the fact that like post-election, the last 2 weeks I've been like, oh my gosh, like I've really been in a way, like I really have.
Yes.
I'm sure.
It's been, but to have the space, to have the community, to have, you know, the conversation, to hear other people speak on it and maybe have the feelings that I have, it's important to see that, because it makes you feel like you're not going through anything alone. And, you know, I'm kind of isolated. Like I work from home, I live alone. So it's a lot for me a lot of times. And like I talk to my friends, I talked to Elise about this before. Like I'm a loner in a lot of ways, but like I'm also like a extroverted introvert. I describe myself as
extrovert introvert.
like I need community, but then like it's funny because sometimes I'll be in conversation with my family and I'm like, yeah, my socially battery has been filled. Thank you very much. Bye. Because I'm so used to not talking to people now that it's kind of like, you know, but I
here's something. If I may interject. With Gwendolyn and Adrian, is so you know, sharing the thought of the kitchen table, and you know, when most families, if there was anything that you say make America great again, if you want to call it that, it was that when families did gather together. I mean, it was something that was, you know, Gwendolyn and I talk about this all the time. I remember when I was a kid, my mother made dinner and we all sat at the table. We ate. We try to talk, but we talk. We talk about school. We talk about, you know, whatever. But and you think about how many families growing, and Gwendolyn had the benefit of really having a really like family discussion table, like you see, you know, like, and we see it on TV. Some people have that, and you know, but family was around the table, the kitchen. I mean, even as an interior designer. And as we interior designers have grown over the years in our philosophy and seeing the world. So you look at interior design back in the beginning, it was the living room and the hall that was the main focus, where people gathered. However, over time, you see interior designers saying, wait a minute, the kitchen is the hub. And you see kitchens getting bigger and bigger and bigger over the century, because that's where people gathered. They started to have, everyone wants to be in the kitchen. I mean, it used to be just the cook in the kitchen. Now it's the whole family is in the kitchen when they can be. And, you know, for those that still celebrate that time together in the kitchen, when mom is cooking or dad is cooking or brother's cooking or whoever's cooking, and everyone's hanging out, chatting and talking. And that's why they tore down those walls. Remember, the walls used to have kitchens in a wall. Then they got rid of those walls because they wanted to be able to see each other while they're in the kitchen. So we as a society still continue, is manifested in so many levels of this thing called community.
Yeah. So I know all of that modern stuff. I'm not a fan of open space.
No, ma'am, not.
I'm not a fan. My kitchen is small. My especially my younger kids, they come home. We still eat together every day. Like my granddaughter comes home, dinner is done. Everybody sits at the table. We talk about school. We talk about everything. That happens every day, unless we go out someplace, unless we go someplace else. But we still do that. And then when my kids are here, especially my two younger children, they like my son makes the best basmati rice ever. So it has tons of flavor to it. He comes, he makes that. My younger daughter makes something else. So we're all in the kitchen. It's narrow, but we bump around, but we have conversation in there. And that really is where the whole idea of the table came from. I had mentioned it to a gallery owner. I said, we should have a dinner inviting people over. And then I was like, I don't have to wait for a gallery owner to have it there in their space.
Yes.
I can just take the lead because everybody's having it in spaces. I can just take the lead and have people at my house and have a real dinner. Not come. I'm not a finger food person. You're not gonna come to my house and Jazzy will tell you, you're not gonna just come in my house and eat some hors d'oeuvres, eat off of a cheese board. That's gonna be wild.
Oh, don't sleep on that, dog. Don't sleep on that charcuterie. Don't sleep on the charcuterie.
You have to
Oh, well, I don't sleep on it,
do
but they had it.
You
I
have
had
to do
it.
both.
But there's also dinner. So
There's
you know,
dinner.
after you eat that, we chat while you're eating that, and then dinner's gonna be served. I promise it's gonna be dinner from the beginning to the dessert. It's all gonna be there.
And it's good too.
Well,
Forget
I'm gonna have to
coming
let you
back.
guys go. This conversation was good. This was a great conversation, y'all. But we need to do our Motivation Monday, and I'm gonna
I've been
kick
kicked
you
out of
guys
better
off the
places.
screen.
Yes.
But this
Have
was
a good one,
great. I love.
everybody.
I mean, and this is why I love also when we come together is that you really know, like I did not plan to talk about this morning. What I do every morning, just for those that's like, Ron, I mean, I have a whole thing laid out of what I want to talk about. However, that's just in case I don't know what to talk about. So there's always things that lined up. However, my intention every time I come on here is I say, God, take the wheel. Lead this conversation, how you're going to have it. Where is it going to go? What's it going to do? And I tell you, it always works out nicely. Always.
Spirit moving. It's the spirit
Always
moving.
does. Yep.
So let's get I'm going to give you some motivation moments, and I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you guys for joining me on the panel. Nothing like a good Monday panel conversation and all these wonderful people. So today's Motivation Monday is, let's get to it. And I'm going to let you guys get to work. Okay, you guys got to get out. Get to work. Here we go. We are talking about embrace. Let me just pop this on the screen. Embrace the constant and change in a changing world. You know, I like to use photography quotes to inspire us during the week. So I've been able to create these amazing, connections. I use my AI. I put my thoughts in. I put all the stuff together, and then I'm able to take these beautiful quotes that I love from other photographers or people in the photography world, and then how can this best serve us during the week? So here's one: embrace the constant in a changing world. And this is, here we go, Motivation Monday. The best thing about a picture is that it never changes, even when the people in it do. And that's from Andy Warhol. And it goes on to say, this quote powerfully reminds us that amidst the constant flux of life, some things remain steadfast. A photograph captures a moment in time, a snapshot of joy, togetherness, or achievement that stays with us forever, regardless of how circumstances or people might change. How can we draw motivation from this wisdom? Cherish memories. Reflect on the precious moments captured in your photos. Let them remind you of the joy, love, and success you've experienced. Also, find stability in change. Just as a photo remains unchanged, focus on the constants in your life. Values, passions, and dreams that anchor you even as everything else evolves. Number 3, embrace growth. While the people in the photo may change, this growth is part of life's journey. Embrace the transformation and the new opportunities it brings. 4, capture your journey. Use photography to document your evolution. Celebrate your milestones and the person you're becoming. And the next one, but not last but not least, stay present. Take time to appreciate the current moment. Just as a picture captures now, live fully in the present, knowing it's a moment worth remembering. And as you go out into the world this week, let's draw strength from our captured memories and use them as a foundation to build our future. Together, we can navigate change while holding on to the essence of who we are. So, guys, there you have it. There you have it. We live in a changing world, and it's ever changing. This is not we got all this stuff with politics and Trump and everything that's happening. This is not the first time that we've had a changing world. Our world is always changing, always changing. So therefore, let's not get so bent out of shape. Let's look at all the anchors we have in our lives. Let's look at the things that are constant, but then also be excited and embrace some of the changes. I believe, like we talked about earlier, for most of this time together, that change is a good thing. Change is a good thing. And sometimes it takes a little rough time to make things better. And I think by the end of all of this, we as human beings, humanity, will be drawn closer together. So the change that's inevitable is about to happen and is happening. But we control the controllables and we work through the things we cannot control. And so that's what gives me the faith and the strength to go forward in this new week. We are greater than we know, but we are greater when we are together. Okay, guys? So I think I hope that helps someone this week. I hope this conversation, the panel, I want to say thank you to the wonderful folks here that joined me on the panel. I mean, that's what discussion is about. Community is everything. I see this. Lee says, we will come out of this a much stronger community. Jazzy says, embrace the change and be a part of it. Yes, there we go. There we go. Okay, guys. So guys, have a wonderful week. Also, if you, again, like I always try to do my little advertisement banners at the end. And I want to make sure if you have something you want to advertise, make sure you let me know. DM me. And I'm going to do it just like I'm going to do mine right now. Make sure you have this. I should have did this earlier, but I'm going to do it now. If you are looking for a photographer, there I am. I am here. Event photography. Reach out to me. Reach out, DM me. Or if you have friends that need a photographer, let them know. I exist. I can come. I fly everywhere. And I photograph here in New York City in our metropolitan area. Also, thank you to all of our partners and sponsorships, like Rolling Clouds, the Treatments, and also the Patreon community that supports this community through their putting money into the community through Patreon. And if you are interested in becoming a Patreon member, make sure you just reach out to the Patreon, go to the Patreon page. Just go to support by joining my Patreon community at patreon.com/Ron Lewis Photos, because this is what we do. This is how we exist. This is what will keep us going forward. Okay, guys. So I'm going to get rid of that banner. Okay, let's get rid of this one. And we are out of here, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me. And have a wonderful week. Let's do this week like we mean it. Live life like you mean it. And focus on what matters. Later.